System audio real quick here. Maybe not. Maybe we'll just bring system audio in. I'll just. So the boat should be working. There we go. Now it changes. One thing I don't like about the road this setup is I use my headphones as the monitors. It doesn't remember that I'm monitoring on my headphones. What AM stream? Yeah, I'm streaming early when my little guys at a birthday party. You need to see something cool though, Fixius. I have no patch notes for any of this. But check this out. More no. This is something different. Watch this. Let me do something. Let's see if I can duplicate this. So I want this one to be main screen 16:9. Then this one, I just want to auto. Alright, so we have our server. Server is just going to be the observer here. I'm going to connect with Revere. Give Revere like a purple color. Alright, so we have Revere. And we'll use female character. Okay, we have two characters. Revere, Xerath. And we're going to do a couple things a little bit different today. So we're going to head over here. We're going to spawn in a ship. So this ship is owned by the second character. It's their ship. I'll turn the audio down. As you can see, it works. But this is where it gets a bit more interesting. Okay, so this is that we can now jump out. Oh, I still gotta fix that one bug with the gravity. We're not without bugs. Alright, so now on our second player, remember this is not their ship. So we have full authority switching. And get ready for the next part of the fun. So watch, I'm gonna spawn in 2 boxes. Right? And then I'm going to spawn in on top of that 2 more boxes. Now there's 4 boxes. But I'm gonna take this one. And then on this character, I'll go take maybe these 3. As you can see, authority is now working perfectly for all of the other entities in the game. I can now finally go through the full game loop of moving things into online, because that's like the last hard part of the equation. So I don't remember who owns the ship. I'll take ownership of it. Let me just... I gotta fix that camera thing, man. That might be something that we do now. Okay, so... yeah, we have lots of features in this game. One low gravity. Alright, so watch. Now we'll take this. Where'd the ship go? Wait, where did I put the ship? Apparently I yeeted the ship, so maybe we'll take him. Maybe we'll just spawn in a new ship for just myself. Okay, whatever. So there we go. Let's go take some cargo. Anyway, so now we have some cargo in the ship. Yeah, the only thing you fix is the stupid physics interpolation with this anchoring system, but I'll fix that. And I guess you're just gonna have to get a new ship. And check it out, because the authority now switches correctly, all of the items are now correctly associating themselves with that ship. Anyway, like, this is pretty much it. This is enough to create, you know, all of the sandbox requirements, right? In multiplayer, like to get things multiplayer. So at least the dedicated server can be permanent, right? So, and then the other part of this equation, because today we're mostly just going to be doing a little bit more design. Like, this is all working. So, right, we can edit. So you know, what's there to do next? I mean, if we now have multiplayer cargo, and we can make purchases and deal with multiplayer cargo, well then, you know, the next thing we should really do is make a UI for the mission system. Actually track, you know, the items that we're actually buying. Like, get the mission system into the user's hands, right? So they can kind of see the details, and you know, we'll probably fix the UI and stuff for this too. I'm actually, like, I do want to make a diegetic UI. I think that's ultimately going to be the thing, but I feel like for debugging we need to make a non-diegetic UI, like just a debug UI, so we can actually, like, make, you know, be able to use this debug UI to kind of check what missions and what entities are on the server. I was playing around in a test project of Dear MGUI. So I might put like a Dear MGUI instance on the server, and you know, with this, what I love now, if I go back to here, so here is my build folder, right? I'll kind of give you the quick rundown. Let me switch this over. And when I'm doing my builds now, I haven't fully automated this, but if we go into the build, and we do our export of the universe server. So project export, we have our dedicated server runnable, and in our dedicated server runnable, we're actually stripping, you know, everything that is not needed, right? So the dedicated server doesn't actually export anything, you know, that it needs to, right? It strips all visuals, strips everything. We do need to put back in some of the missions. So, like, on the dedicated server right now, even though we have unique names, we don't have certain labels, we don't have certain there's things I got to go in and be like, hey, we don't want to actually exclude this. But we're pretty much excluding everything that doesn't align to the node path of the multiplayer synchronizers, right? Because really, as far as the multiplayer goes, only the things that represent, like anything that aligns to a player existing and whatever the path is to those properties, like an animation tree, like that's all it needs. It doesn't need to know anything. It just needs to know that these animations exists and that they're playing. So anyway, so this is all like this build is stripped, right, and is runnable. So when I export this project, it goes into the builds directory. So it'll just do a build with debug, and it'll just overwrite the old one. So this will do a full build for the dedicated server, and it'll do all the stripping and everything that we need. And this is where it gets really interesting, because I'm on the server now. When we close out this and we go into my command line, what I've made is this deployment server. So this deployment script here, every time I hit enter, apparently I can't. This will automatically download a sliv of Ubuntu server. It will go through the Docker file. It'll move, it'll go through and install all of the dependencies of Godot, right? And all of this is cacheable. It will then copy our server to user local bin Godot headless. So it'll like set up it's just like I said, very minimum, here's Ubuntu with only what my instance of Godot needs. Then the server gets deployed internally. Then the whole thing gets converted into the image. All the export layers get set up. It writes itself to the Docker configuration, and then pretty much sets it up as our Docker library US server. So it immediately kills the old server and relaunches it. So if I do deploy, boom, the server is now rerunning the latest version. So if I go here, and we go into our Portainer, oh my god, but it's one of those I don't know why it's like forgets my password. Maybe it's email? Hang on, that's fine. Alright, so then in this environment, we have our Nakama instance. And then, so this is the current running US server. And then we can actually go into this now. And I have it fully set up, so we have our live logs. So these are the live logs of everything happening right now. This is the output of Godot. So as I go and reconnect to the dedicated server, we can actually see what's happening live. And then we can also go and actually check the status throughput, so we can look at like what connections we have happening and what our like network aggregate is. So if we go back and close out this, and instead we'll rerun them all, but we're not going to connect to the test environment. Where are we? So we'll do non-local, non-local, non-local. Yeah, I need to be able to switch between these two modes. And we join. I'm now on the dedicated server. Right, so we have 2 players now on the dedicated server. We'll just give it a second for the smoothing to happen. So 2 players. We're now on the stripped dedicated server. Everything is now working like before. In some ways, it's actually way better because it's only doing what it needs to do, and it doesn't have on the server side as many of these game objects. Right, this is all working. The only thing that's not working is the handle and the color configuration, because those technically aren't on the server right now due to the way that I was stripping. But everything else, including the players and ships and all the systems, so I gotta fix that. But now we can go back in to our pertainer and we can actually see our network aggregate, right? Because we should be running at pretty much so many kilobits per second, right? So over time, right, we can see what the throughput is going to be. Because we got to remember too, I'm not synchronizing. I have 100 NPCs, right? That's synchronizing animation tree. Yeah, there's animation tree. There's a bunch, right? So we can actually see what our, what our I/O is and what's cached, and we can actually see like the per usage. Now, CPU utilization is kind of weird, because this Docker container is only running the server, so its CPU utilization is based upon the total running processes. So it always hovers over 100% because it is 100% of its own, So we can get an idea of like data being ingested from the client versus data coming out to the client, and there's a few more things we can do with this now on the side. And if we kill it for any reason, it'll just heal itself. And we can also migrate it around to different like IPs within the virtual network. And there's a bunch of things we can do for the automation for the server. And eventually, what we'll do is we'll be integrating it with Nakama. Nakamas are wonderful, kind of like account management service tool, and it has its own scalability. But yeah, and it's cool because now it's a lot easier to kind of deal with. And we can also console into it and see like what's happening. Alright, so this is the only thing running on this on this Docker container, and the whole deployment of this then, once this becomes a Dockerized container, it can be exported and moved around very quickly within the other orchestrators. So I'm pretty sure this is pretty, as good as we can get it. And the total size of this container on the storage size, I don't know if we can check here. Bear like lion. Yeah, it's a morning stream, right? So I have pretty much everything like automated on this now, including like NVIDIA's Docker virtualization. So like my Godot instances in Docker have access to bare metal, which I'm hoping will be useful when we get in like compute shaders. But I love that I can just I can just kill this, or just restart it, and it'll just boom. Right, we'll immediately get kicked. So it doesn't know we're kicked yet. Give it a second. Boom, and then we're down. And now I can literally go back to multiplayer, reconnect to the server, and boom, I'm back. Right. So it's everything is back to where we were. I can spawn in more items. Portainer is awesome. There's a few things like a lot of this I'm probably going to automate where I wouldn't really need Portainer, but I'm finding, like in this setup for at least US server now, right, just being able to go into my logs and have my full Godot console output, be here live, to be able to go download the logs for debugging purposes for whatever the shard will be, and the ability to go in, you know, and look at my process and stats and see like how long it's been up and what my network throughput will be. So it's the goal of what I'm going to be working on is getting my Nakama instance now set up with C#, and then having my Nakama instance, you know, be able to register these you know, multiple instances, because the infrastructure of Unforgiven Space is to run a US server automatically with a PCK that represents that that star system, right? So as most of it is assets, right? So when we're in a star system, we are in an instance, right? And then as we go to the jump gate is really more of a lobby management system that says, hey, I got to go to this other server. You know, who's on that server? Is there one running? Do I need to spin one up? Right? Like what needs to happen, you know, administratively on the back end. And because Nakama can be interfaced with, you know, I'm just telling my server, I'm here, I'm putting in a request to have to open the jump gate. You know, if the server tells the infrastructure, do we have an instance running already for the star system? If the instance is running for the star system, cool, we'll use it. And it will go through some account checks, right? Is there an instance running? You know, right, is what it wants. But really it's like, is there an instance in my region? If there is an instance in my region, is there one that my friends are on? And if there's none of that, you know what I mean, then give me what you can, right? Or tell the backend to spin one up, and then you're just waiting for the response back, very, you know, which is still going to happen pretty quickly, of that one system being online. And then of course, you know, the player doesn't realize any of this is kind of systemic, because they're just kind of putting a request in to use the jump gate, and the jump gate is spinning up for them and going online. And what's really interesting is I can keep the jump gate visuals actually running, right? If there is a actual link between those two shards, like if there's actually, if that shard, if someone in that server has requested to move over to another instance, those jump gates can kind of keep those references to each other, of like, hey, you know, somebody here went to 192, you know, to this internal other instance, right? And then it already knows what it needs to do, right? And then on the Godot side, all we're doing here is unloading all those assets and then loading those assets in, right? Because like I have to do more custom implementations of the way we strip, because the total client, like when we're doing our build exports, when we're doing our dedicated server exports out, right? We need to be able to, we need to be stripping stuff. And this is what I was saying before you arrived, right? Like I'm stripping everything that does not align itself to the path of a network synchronizer, right? Like all that matters in Godot multiplayer is that the scene tree is accurate, and that whatever this data property is pointing to, it exists. It doesn't care about it actually. It doesn't care that the animation is a null thing, as long as the animation exists and it can be playable, right? So all things that can be played and synchronized just need to exist. They don't need to have data. So when we're doing the dedicated server exports, I want to make this so that the client has everything. The client will always have every star system and everything that it needs. I don't know if we can do that by having the client have multiple PCKs for each star system, but local to them. But when we're doing these server exports, the server exports have to export in a way that there are different PCKs exported per star system. And the idea is that when we want to launch a star system, we give it a export template, so we give it a build, and then we give it the associated PCK that represents that star system, and it just runs that export template, you know, with that stripped PCK. So for each star system, there's a stripped and non-stripped PCK, one that the client will use, and then one that the server will use. And then, you know, so that we get super high performance on the, you know, on the server side. So, because then we're not, you know, we're not really utilizing a lot of server memory. Because you know, the server is nothing but just data. Robot voice? Oh, over clipping. It's supposed to be like here by default. Good now. So Bear, let me show you. Thanks to Booch and all of the suffering. Wait, no audio now? No, maybe no audio now. How's there no audio? The audio is there. I'm seeing audio. You guys not seeing audio? I mean, it shows audio. No? Yes? We're good now? Oh, okay. So let me get back into the ramble. Alright, so let's go back and I want to show... Yeah, so Bear, this is kind of where I am now with this auto deploying. Right, auto deploying now, whenever I have in my server folder my build, I can run my deployment script. Yeah, right. The deployment script pulls Ubuntu server 2404 LTS, sets up my Docker ignore, does the build, moves the server into user local bin Godot headless, and then, you know, immediately kind of writes itself out as Docker IO library US server, and then restarts the existing image, and it's immediate, like, you know, boom, it's restarted. So I just need to deploy over SMB to this folder, but we need to get versioning, and there's a few other things, but it's really good. Like this, you know, I don't really have to do anything. It's importing or then. So let me show you what I have working. So we're just doing this locally. So this is what's working now. I'm gonna move these NPCs, go away. Apparently the server is gonna get kidnapped. All right, perfect. And remember, like all of this I'm doing is all worst case. There's never going to be 100 NPCs, you know. So we'll do this character. It's all about, you know, continuously keeping that throughput. We'll do red, I guess, for a year. All right. All right. So we're we all just hosting? Let me actually put this out. I don't think this is actually working. Let's redo this real quick. Yeah, it was probably just a latency of me adjusting the audio for the first time. Okay, so we have one character, the other character, and what you're seeing here, like initially with the lag, is all of that data, like hitting the like all the synchronizers initially synchronizing all those NPCs, their positions. It's meant to be bad. But let's move the server and the player out of the way here. Need to find a better way of really switching between the stuff because there's so much happening. All right, so for this character here behind chat, I can now go spawn the ship. Ship obviously exists. There we go. Come over here on the second player. All right, ship's all good. Ship is my ship, so you know weapons are mine. All right, I can now go interact with the. Right. So this ship is working. It's mine. I can fly it. So let's have this person take it. So normally, this is not something that we can do. Right, but the second I interact with the seat console, I actually take authority. And now it's my ship. Okay. And there's that bug that I need to fix with the gravity volumes, but it's not a big deal. So we have just taken over authority of the ship just by kind of switching roles. So now here's where it gets really interesting. If I go buy 2 things of gas, and I want to go to the other player. So there is 2 things of gas that, you know, that player bought. I'm going to add 2 things of processed food, and maybe I'm going to take this one. And maybe the other player is going to take these 2. It doesn't matter. It can be switched now. Right? Now we can actually work together. Right? You know, switching. So, you know, I could take a box and, like, you know, throw it over there, and then the other player can, you know, grab it and take it and throw it on the ship. So we can yeet things around. And it all works. So this is like the fundamental, you know, to me, this is like where everything is to a point where I can stop, you know, worrying about, you know, getting the prototype working, and I can just start going ham on gameplay and just continuing to actually develop the game, because a lot of the stuff now, this is good enough to be able to test everything I make in a single player design in multiplayer. So, yep. And now we can just buy cargo, throw it on our ship, bring it to, you know, A to B. Right, so this person didn't even own this ship, but now it's theirs by authority. So we can take the other character and maybe just spawn in a new one. And here's where it gets kind of interesting. There is a bug initially, but so we have 2 ships, 2 independent pilots. They're all doing their thing, and now we're going to join in. Here, well, here's the hard part. Here's where it could crash. I'm going to join in with a late joiner. Okay, so a late joiner. Remember, it doesn't know who owns authority. It doesn't know who owns the boxes. It doesn't know anything. It has to replicate all of this, including the nested parenting of the ships. So I'm going to put in as bear or red tango, right? Red tango. We'll make him, maybe, even though it's red tango with orange, just to kind of separate them. So I'm going to join in with a late joiner, and then boom. So I did get the ship spawn at origin for 1 frame, but I want you to check. I want you to notice something. So let's come back out of here with red tango, and then come back in. Oh, I didn't go far enough. I didn't leave the gravity volume far enough. It's because I'm still in the gravity volume? Oh no, we're good. Yeah, so Red Tango came in, and he didn't know anything about anything. But the server's there, all the boxes are synchronized, and if we look up in the air, we have 1 ship being piloted by 1 person, and another ship being piloted by another person. If we go back to those ships, they're fully synchronized. All of their projectiles. Right? Like... And now, what happens now if we kill the server? So let's finally kill the server. Wherever the server is, hi server. Alright, so if we kill the server, we should get a graceful exit of all clients. no errors, right? So, you know, and then I can go multiplayer, and this one can be a host for testing purposes. And then I can go multiplayer and then join that host, you know, and then spawn in my own ship, and kind of, you get it, right? It's now working, right? It's working enough that we can test gameplay. Right, boom. So I'm very happy to so cool. Well, yeah, so now the Patreon server will stay up. Now we can I can always keep the build running. When it crashes, we know why it crashes, because the logging system of Portainer, where did I put the internet? Here. Right. Logging system of Portainer, whenever we crash in our logs. All right, we rebuilt the container. Right, so all we'll do is whenever we crash out, we'll just take the logs. I do love they had a stealth commit that moved to get gravity from rigid body 3D to physics body 3D. So I can now use gravity volumes with character. Wait, what? When? Wait, what? I still ultimately want to be able to use character body 3D based characters. I believe I can actually simulate 0G good enough on my own with a bit of math that it would still feel fine. You know what I mean? We actually get more artistic control, you know, over the rate of acceleration, deceleration if I just simulate it, right? So I could do that with a node, you know, or with anything. Just, you know, just use my own, you know, physics function and just kind of, you know, use it for bouncing around and whatnot. But the issue I found with that is I noticed in character body 3D, we can actually change the up direction, so that's good. That means we can. So with all those clients working, the only errors that we really had are these ones here, and they relate to only the material services, the stuff that we're trying to set that we don't have access to. Oh, and ship taking damage. Yeah, so ship taking damage. We do not have object not referenced. We don't have a source. Before I start typing, it popped up where it did in 4.1. Cool. So yeah, so that's kind of like where I am with things, which is great because it means I'm truly back to where I was with Unity, I think. Right? We just need to finish the this is what's left. We got to get the zone system working. So I'll demonstrate the zone system, and ever since physics interpolation, it's weirder, and I don't know if we just want to embrace the physics interpolation. I think we do, right? Like we do want to embrace it. Question. Is this a socket system to have the parts know where they go? Yeah, and I call them snap points. Snap points also have type enums. So like a thing can only go in where it needs to go. So if you're hovering with the tractor beam, it will make a visual representation of the closest point. So it's really easy for the user to be like, you know what I mean? Like I'm holding this battery, you know what I mean? And as I'm moving the battery around, it will create the highlight of where the battery will go if it's in a valid snap position. Because I don't want to have the user, like, you know what I mean? Like trying to guess. Because I haven't tested the zone system since I actually created it. When they move get gravity. And let's actually move some of the code into the zone system. Let's take. Gotta make sure I get my phone. Okay. I want to actually. I've been playing a couple of games with this kind of modularity, and I maybe want to figure it out for my project. So, all I do, turning cog, I have an area 3D around my player. Right. This is my player. This is the implementation that works absolutely the best. Right. So you have a player. This zone that exists here around me, right here. It's called my interactor, right? We're in an MMO. We can't be detecting a billion objects that we can interact with, right? But the interactor does. The interactor maintains for the player a list of snap points, right? It does other things too. What players like, what bodies are around you, what areas are around you. It's a really simple system. But it contains these snap points, and whenever a body enters, it gets added or removed to these arrays, no matter what they are. But the snap points themselves, whenever we enter, whenever an object enters the area, if it's a snap point, it gets added to the area, and if it's not a snap point, it gets removed from the area. And then what we do to get the closest snap point, the fastest way is a single iteration, where whenever we want to run this function, say we're holding a part in our hand, and we want to just know, based on what's in our interactable area, what the closest snap point is, you always start at maximum float value, and you iterate once, checking the distance, and seeing if the distance is less than a previous distance. Because after one iteration, if you're always checking what the least distance is, you'll ultimately always return at the least distance, right? Because it'll go through and eventually be like, nope. So the last one that it was actually defined as will be the closest step, and then that's it. That works for everything. And then it's really performant, right? And you can even do things then by maybe like have a maximum interactables or vice versa. And then as you're running around, interacting with the ship, interacting with all these points, right? They're very basic. And in my case, I even made it a bit simpler in the future. This is a bad example because it's old code. But I've unified. So these snap points, which themselves are like area 3Ds, in the main project, all of this has been destroyed. And it's all unified to a single snap point that uses an interface, and habitation, like item components or ship components, they can all use the same snap point system. There's just a type on them and a size, right? So it's a lot more unified. I can just go into the habitation module, add a snap point, set it to like furniture, set the size to like 2. And then it only needs to align itself to a size 2 if the component is size 2, happens to be a snap, a furniture item, then it'll snap. And then it's the same system for everything, and it makes it a lot easier when we're serializing stuff like ship configurations, or in this case like a room configuration, because it's all the same data, right? And then it goes even kind of further, really, because an item component, a ship component, now just extends an item component. So they're literally the same thing. They just have a little bit of differences on the ship side. So little that they could almost, like, themselves be an interface, right? And really very easy to scale then when you're snapping stuff around. So let's give this a, right, we're gonna go in and add the network display. This multiplayer manager, we want to steal this. I had some reason to assume vehicles and base building were so wholly separate things. That makes a lot of sense, thank you. But you shouldn't, like, just remember that your existence in life is to maintain complexity. You're not making a game. You're shepherding this everly increasing complexity. That will ultimately be, the product of the game. And you really don't want to kind of, well, when prototyping, they were separate things, but I realized there was enough commonality to them. Like what's the whole point of it? Like, what is a snap point, right? It's just a node that represents where a thing can go. Well, what is the thing to go? Well, that's an ID, right? An object ID, which is a shared concept, right? And then it becomes like, well, we could just have a type, to determine the differences between them, because a ship component that's an ID of whatever 227, or a building component, right? Yep, shepherding complexity. But now we should have auto tiling. No, we don't have auto tiling. Why? Because we don't have settings. What do we use settings for? It's called server, could not find server. Oh, okay, yeah. We're not doing this. save this client 1, client 2. Okay. Client 1, client 2. We'll do the server. The Windows Manager like looks for certain things. There we go. So this just saved us a whole bunch of having to deal with it. Okay, so here we are with a player. We're gonna join. So this test project is called the Zone System, and it's designed to separate the physics of an actor from the physics of what we call you know, the player itself. So if you see the very weird shadowing here, where there's like a transparent version of itself and a non-transparent version of itself, that's because they're one-to-one right now in the universe. So, and what we're going to do is we're going to catch this boat here. Right, so this is right? So now we are in a physics zone. We can jump, we can do whatever we want. We are in a totally separate physics simulation. And if everything works, it should be, oh my god, it actually is stable. Okay. So the physics interpolation actually fixes the issue that I was having. Oh, this could be very, very, very good. Godot might have actually fixed the problem that I didn't realize they could fix. Oh my god, that actually, it does work. Because I only need client-side prediction. This is it. So yeah, so here we have the player in a ship, but it's not really in a ship. It's really in a zone that represents the ship somewhere else. Right? And once two of these concepts are merged together, we have a perfect Star Citizen clone. As all physics that's happening in this environment is local. So let's go to the, I want to go to the, yeah, it's another player. So the only thing is a late joiner. We haven't dealt with anything with late joiners. So the late joiner doesn't see the actors updated yet. So we need to replicate that. Wait, what happens when a late joiner joins the volume though? Oh, hang on. Oh no, it's not good things. Not good things are happening right now. Dude, that physics setup still makes my brain melt because it's very it's not the best glue, you know what I mean? Like, it's not the best solution, but it's the best solution for working with Godot. This is it, man. Like, this is it, Tank. Like, Red. Like, this is it. Like, this is the sum of everything now. All I have to do is scale. All I have to do is get all of this code cleaned up, and you know, like all these stupid edge cases with disconnects and reconnects and and I could just start throwing all this into the main build, like the main build, with all the art and like just working. I can work on the game again. And if we leave, check this out. Watch what happens the second I leave. Look at how seamless that was. Right, I'm out of the zone again now. I'm in regular space. And it's not even going to be this bad, because in reality, we're going to have entry points to the zone. So there'll always be like an airlock. Like right here, there's a chance I can get like hit by the corner. Like there's a boundary inside the physics zone. So if you kind of like get hit by the front, like when you get teleported inside the physics zone, there's a boundary that obviously keeps you inside. So if I don't hit it exactly from the top, where I don't have a boundary, like, you know, representing it, then I can't get in there, you know? But normally the ship would be stopped and you'd have to go in through the airlock. Like there's so many, when I'm making this stuff, I'm doing it in worst case scenarios. But anyway, the issue I was having with the zone system was, even though I'm locally parenting everything, there shouldn't be any jitter, right? Like there shouldn't be jitter because it's like it's all client, right? So the smoothing that's happening is actually the local physics interpolation of the new physics system just working, because I'm not supposed. It's kind of the networking is fighting its old position. Like the networking pushing global position is being confused with the local rendition of what local position was for the player. Are you going to add a feature SC has where you leave a zone and flip around? Like, yeah, absolutely. Yep. It's got to happen. I can't. Oh man, that's so good. So there's going to be some benign interpolations we're going to need to deal with. And it's always that indicator. There's like, this is on the main project too. The indicator that I'm moving around, which is like the look position, and it's the stupid position that's being used for all of the IK system, right? The IK system is not physics process. The IK system is process, and the IK system is targeting this visual indicator. But because this visual indicator is being moved on process, because it's meant to be a very quick, it's like I need physics process to be the driver of the visual indicator, but I need the visual indicator itself to be interpolated, right? And for the purpose of non-physics things that are using it. And I think the answer to that is probably going to be having another node, like a marker 3D node or something, that represents like a look target, and that marker is moved on like the marker itself is moved on process, but the actual look direction itself is a vector with a distance, like a vector with a length of whatever, you know, the raycast, whatever you want to call it, like whatever that vector is, the look position I want to use for everything in the game. I'll just sync that vector itself, and that vector will be updated on with the multiplayer synchronizer. So like where the player is looking and how far, because that how far is used for the tractor beam of where the object should be represented. I think we'll just make that be a vector. So that'll be a vector, and that vector itself will be synced with the multiplayer synchronizer. It's just really nice, like if you synchronize, I'm wondering if they fixed the issue with path follow where they couldn't update both location and rotation. Not sure. But I think I have a lot of workarounds. There's a lot to talk about and a lot to do. Because like this is what a ship's zone looks like, right? Like here, this is what a ship is. And you know what's funny, Red? When I made this, my biggest thing was I wish I could colorize, right, these physics zones, like the actual like the entry points and the exit points, and we can now. We can actually set custom colors because they actually share the same geometry, right? Like I'm not going to go and like, you know, all of this needs to be very simple, right? So like this would be our I guess, right? So these are our entry and exits. These are colliders themselves. And one of these is the whole zone itself, or represents the zone itself, the shape. Yeah, so this is the gravity area, right? That we're what's cool is when I finish this, right, all of the gravity stuff of the ship will no longer be actually a part of the ship. It'll be a part of its physics zone. It'll be the zone, right, that you enter that's responsible for applying effects to the player, or a fire, or like anything like the atmosphere. It would just be a property. Like gravity area won't become a gravity area anymore. It'll become a zone area. I'll unify it. I'll make it a more simpler thing. Right, in a zone area, will be responsible for, you know, like applying gravity. Because gravity, in the sense of how the zone system works, is always local. So it's not like it's down; it's always down. You know what I mean? Unless something else, you know, is changing it. So this is lovely that we can actually like change this now and have the, you know, like a yellow, right? Like, you know, this is the actual zone. These are the entry and exit points. Right now, there's a lot more triggering this. I'm actually triggering it on the gravity volume itself, but you know, eventually you'll go up to the ship and just enter through the side, and then you're in the zone. And if you go and exit it, boom, you're back in reality. Right? It's designed so that there's a hard-coded exit point and a specific entry point, which determines whether you're in or out. And the cool thing is, I can actually increase all of the zones, you know, colliders, so that like there's no instability inside the ship. You know, like you don't have to worry about like players, you know, like accidentally leaving the ship because the zone's way too big. And if it's more performant later on, I'll make these in Blender, you know, like just the shapes. But I don't think that's pretty much the extent of it. Coffee. So that this way the ship actually is only an actor. The ship is only a visual representation of itself. And a ship just has a trigger of how someone enters into their zone. Love that exposed get gravity physics body. I hate I couldn't get the proposed gravity vector from Area 3D on the character body. I want to go back and redo it. I still believe that a character body 3D is still the best for a character. Like, if character bodies worked well enough, I wouldn't need to make this whole system. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there's probably a long-term benefit, but I should be able to just reparent the player and solve all of this, right? Like, if players can just be reparented, and then your movement controller only controls position instead of global position, like it'll control global position if you're in 0G, but if you ever get in a station or in a spaceship, because you're only ever in a station or a spaceship, or maybe you're on a planet. But in all of those cases, you can just reparent the player to those things, and then you can just move locally, you know. And then if those things happen to be rigid bodies, you're just a static body, or really, I guess a weird kinematic body if you think about it, within those. So your ability to move around is fine. Like you can solve the problem with character body 3Ds. But there just needs to be like changes to the way the character body 3D works. But maybe, you know, the changes that I had, I think my issues were fixed, you know, because that gravity direction, the up direction was my issue. Like I couldn't rotate them because they were always stuck in Y up space. So they were like, you know, like it was just very annoying. Because I'm also not doing multiplayer. Absolutely. So all we have to do is deal with these. I don't know, Bear, if you're still around. Because because I do have a brain twister for you. Alright, let's go into ClickUp and get organized. Install now. Yeah, let's damn, what can we where do we really go here? There's so many things. I'm gonna go use the washroom, and then we'll dive into this. All right. Actually, that's a good one. This one here, when you hit escape while in your ship, the menu won't come up. Because of the VJoy cursor. Yeah, let's knock out some of these and I'll order lunch. Gonna order lunch here now, real quick. How are you making it with your game, Red? Or what are you working on with it? Let me do it. You're back. Order in the food. That food is done. I've been laughing around with many concepts, so I think progress percentage is currently negative. But that's progress. It's kind of a part of the whole deal, you know? I need to find a YouTube chat client. I keep neglecting YouTube, man, and I need to find a better client. It's like they really need to make one for the standalone. Or like there should be a path that always works for your chat. Hey, Vishal. See? Mirix, is it possible to move all physics to server to prevent cheaters? Absolutely. Let's put YouTube chat here. Yeah, YouTube chat sucks. I don't know how other people like just use it. I guess they use Restream. Take a look at the video. Antics, this has been a great day. The zone system looks flawless, by the way, with the new physics interpolation. Oh, nice. It's showing like the hit and miss percentage based upon like a I like how the interpolation line is still here. The interpolation line is still a thing. Yeah, the way that we do the VJoy is very interesting. There you go, Magic. Yeah, see, and then it keeps minimizing, so it's very hard. You forgot YouTube. I didn't forget. The chat, it keeps closing. I hate it. I hate YouTube chat, man. I need to find a client for YouTube chat that's more stable. How are you doing, Michelle? Yeah, so we need to still be able to toggle the menu even when the VJoy cursor is up. So when we open the menu, we're not getting the mouse back. Yeah, maybe when we open the menu, if the VJoy, yeah, we're running like a reset on the VJoy and we'll take the mouse back, so its input doesn't do a thing. I don't think we have a reset. We have an end. And end is cut. Okay, so it's captured, which makes sense. Let's do a reset, which doesn't mess with the mouse. Yeah, the VJoy cursor is visible. Have you played with Outer Wilds? I did, yeah. I love Outer Wilds. Outer Wilds is such a good game. Yeah, this is just like Outer Wilds with some multiplayer. Maybe we'll do an end instead, but then control the cursor. Dude is on the way. Yeah, so all that's left on the netcode is going to be the item components, have to be networked. Like a reset. Still moving this point. Yeah, this enabled needs to be exposed. do this here. I'm gonna probably take a break. I'll be back later on. And then later on tonight, I'll definitely be doing the normal stream. There's so much I want to do. There's so much we can do now. I want to actually start getting the new gray box station working. You know, with all the new you know, the new storage hanger modules. So I'm gonna end it, and I'll be back in a bit.